You're listening to the IDEAfit Pro Show, the podcast that empowers fitness professionals to reach their highest potential personally and professionally. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting your fitness journey, you're in the right place. Each week, we bring you expert interviews, industry trends, and practical strategies to elevate your fitness career and enhance your impact on clients' lives. I'm your host, Amy Boone-Thompson. I'm the proud owner and CEO of IDEA and a certified fitness professional for over 30 years. Welcome to the IDEAfit Pro Show. I'm Amy Boone-Thompson, and today's guest is someone who holds a very special place in my personal and professional journey. Gini Grimsley is the Executive Director of Programming for Pain-Free Performance, where she blends cutting-edge science with practical, results-driven methods to create lasting performance and to prevent injury. As a former Division I and professional basketball player, Gini specializes in helping former athletes navigate the transition from elite sport into long-term career and lifestyle success. Her passion for workout programming, scalability, and working with former athletes has made her a trusted mentor to both clients and fitness professionals. Gini holds a Bachelor of Science in Exercise and Sports Science from UNC Greensboro and a master's degree in exercise physiology from Appalachian State University. Her career reflects a commitment to excellence, resilience, and helping athletes reimagine their potential beyond the game. Gini and I worked together for many years, and today I want you to hear all about her incredible career. Gini, welcome to the IDEAfit Pro Show.
Hey, Amy. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to share today.
So exciting. And I mean, as I've shared, we've known each other for a long time, but I can't wait for you to share your story with our audience of fitness professionals because it's a great story. And it was one that took you through mainstream fitness, through athletics, and now working in pain and performance. So I just can't wait for everybody to hear. Let's start there. Tell us how you got into fitness and what your career pathway has been.
Well, as you mentioned, I started in athletics. I played whatever sport my parents decided to throw me in. Now, granted, we grew up in a small town, so there were like 3 options for sports, and it was all very seasonal. But I eventually found my way onto the basketball court pretty much full time after high school, going into college to play at UNC Greensboro, where I got my bachelor's degree. Lettered all 4 years there, and had a pretty successful career. And had a really good time. And that's, through that process of training to become as elite as I could be, relative to my genetics and build and sport of choice, I fostered this love of challenging myself to be a little bit better every day. And so that carried into my undergraduate studies in exercise science. And I was even thinking back the other day, and I was like, I ended up getting a weight set at like 11, and I'm not sure what other 11-year-old, decided that that's what they wanted to ask for their birthday. And so I think that year my birthday fell on Thanksgiving, and so it's like, oh man, I get a turkey, so I get protein and weights for my birthday this year. So this is awesome. And so just, I followed that. That led me to my degree in exercise science. And then I did go overseas for a little bit to try my hand at professional basketball and played for a couple different teams. Came back stateside, played for, 3 or 4 different semi-pro leagues, and then decided, what, it's time to start the growing up process. I don't think I've achieved that fully yet. So I'm proud of that, I think. And decided to go to Appalachian. And that's where the initial thought was, what, I'm going to go and serve as many people as I can, which were not athletes at the time. It was more of, how do I make folks who are sick and need the help more than athletes do? How can I go help them? And so I took the cardiac rehab route. And of course, as fate may have it, and I've have become the ultimate utility player. I was a positionless player on the basketball court, kind of broad when it came to the things that I liked in exercise science. That not only while I was working as an intern in the cardiac rehab program and going through that coursework, I was also the graduate assistant for the women's basketball team. And because we had a turnover issue with the strength and conditioning coach, I was also the interim strength and conditioning coach for a while. And so when you look at the spectrum of folks that I was able to work at while I was at Appalachian, I got big time Division I athletes and folks who are coming out of the cath lab with their chest cracked open. And so being able to help both of those really just continued that thought of, well, fitness is actually for everyone, not just for the elites and not for the everyday person. And so from there, I did get married during my time in Boone and moved to Colorado. And that's where our paths crossed. And so I interviewed at a couple places thinking, you know what, I'm going to use this degree and this credential that I have of certified clinical exercise physiologist, and I'm going to pursue that. But you have to remember in Colorado, that's one of the healthiest states of the 50 that we have. And so there weren't very many opportunities. And so I shifted a little bit thinking, I'll get into personal training and that's what I'll do until something in cardiac rehab opens that I want to go and then do. Well, that never happened. And fast forward, almost 15 years later, here we are. So, I ended up interviewing at a couple different gyms, got on at Colorado Athletic Club, which is owned by the Wellbridge company. And the national director of personal training was none other than Amy Boone-Thompson. And so we developed a really good relationship almost right off the bat. I remember you came in for a club visit and just were asking me kind of where, and you were like, oh no, I went to school in Virginia. I played basketball. I was like, yes, I've found my person. And so, like I said, we hit it off. And just from there, your mentorship kind of helped me become a PT manager at the initial club. I was able to train Nia and Boone along the way as well, kick your guys' butts in some workouts. And then moved over to another club within that same company. And then an opportunity came up in 2018 that you had reached out about and I had looked into, and we visited the club together. And that's the next turn of the career was moving over to Vasa to become the national director of their studio products. Now, they didn't even have a studio product or studio classes when I started. They had traditional group fitness. They had personal training, and they were just in the early stages of this team training thing. And so basically I was brought in to build that group training modality out. And now it's their top performing studio within the three. And from that's driven a lot of their growth and business. And so we started with a HIT product, which was similar to some of the classes I was running back at Colorado Athletic Club. But now this was done to scale. This went from, something I would do a couple times a week at a single club to now this programming is executed 3 to 4 times a day across 35 gyms. Now that was in 2018. Now they're closer to 70 and still running that same class and that same format. So that was the first product that I built for Vasa during my time there. Then we developed a infrared yoga product as product number 2. And that has done really well. It's the mind body component that balances the HIT. And then the final product that I developed before I moved on to my new role with Pain-Free Performance was Studio Lift. And everyone knows that strength training is the thing to do. It's the foundation of everything that we do. And that was probably my favorite format to build out. I got to design the space, pick the equipment, and it has turned out to be, again, one of their most popular classes. And along the way, I started as the director of studio products, which transitioned into the director of personal training for like 2 months. And then COVID happened. And then coming out of COVID, I became the director of fitness for the most part, right? So it's everything from group fitness, personal training, the studio products, sitting in with club design, sitting in with marketing, providing content for marketing, helping the social media people make sure that we're not promoting, poor form on that. And the almost 7 years that I was at Vasa was one of the most informative and dense amount of learning that I think I've ever been through, because it came fast. It was something new every single day. And I appreciate every single thing that I learned from that company. And then life tends to take a turn. And then, so end of 2024 going into 2025, my partner had an opportunity that brought us back to Charleston. And that was something that we couldn't turn down. So I ended up leaving Vasa, finishing up the Studio Lift product, and starting with Pain Free Performance, who along the way, I had been teaching their 2-day certification course for. And I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But now brought on to be the executive director of programming, meaning I run the Unbreakable app for John Russon's team. And so it's everything from picking our platform, helping with the design, the colors, and of course, writing the programming. So it's everything plus the business side, which has, again, been an awesome learning experience. And so, along the way, keeping clients on my roster and doing all the things. I'm not one, and I think you know this, Amy, I'm not one to sit still for very often. Like I have to have something to do or bad things happen. And so keeping that going until here we are today. And I'm presenting a couple times this year for IDEA and have you as a mentor and have met so many awesome people through IDEA and just the network that fitness has provided for me, both personally and professionally, like you mentioned.
Amazing. I was going to call timeout a few times, but I wanted you to finish your whole career path because it's the roles that you've held, the opportunities that you've had. And by the way, you're still in, I'd say, your first chapter. These are little decades, but still you have so much ahead of you and you've already held such amazing roles and opportunities. But let's just go back quickly. She was the coach of my now adult children Ginny was running the camps at the Colorado Athletic Clubs where my children learned how to play basketball. And now my daughter's a Division I athlete and my son hopefully will be as well one day. But Ginny was their first coach. So shout out for that. All the way till now, she's scaling programs across, what'd you say, how many locations Vasa had?
Vasa's at 70 plus locations. And then, all the education stuff too. It's nuts.
But I mean, I saw in you something special, and I get to work at that time, especially at Wellbridge. We had 26 clubs, and I was in an opportunity where I got to go from club to club and meet all of our professionals and work with our managers. But I saw in you, Ginny, just this curiosity and this expertise that you wanted to learn, you wanted to teach, and you wanted to grow. And you were so open to everything our industry offered. And it's taken you in all these amazing directions. So it's so much fun to watch you continue to grow and evolve. But now, before we go into more of your work with Pain Free, tell our audience how you first heard about IDEA and what has your IDEA story been?
So for IDEA, it's interesting because it was very much remote learning before remote learning was a thing. So I think you introduced us to Club Connect, which housed a lot of the IDEA content, 10 years ago. And so going through that, I was like, oh, these sessions are really cool. What is this thing? And there was never really a point during my time with Wellbridge that I was able to make it to an IDEA conference, but I knew what it was. And I knew that there's a lot of learnings that were happening there. And so when I got the opportunity after I moved over to Vasa to attend, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been missing out on this entire time. And so, of course, my first few times at IDEA, I'm like, I think I want to present here. Like, how can I kind of figure out a way to get good enough at my craft to have enough stories to tell, enough data to share so that the folks, the powers that be at the time for IDEA saw it as beneficial and decided to ultimately bring me on. And it took me going, I think I went at least three or four times before I was actually ever able to present. And I started at the PTI in Baltimore, where we rented one of our other good friends, Kelly. And then, last year presenting at IdeaWorld in Sacramento, a couple sessions. And then this year back in Maryland again, we've got a couple sessions. So it was one of those things you get made aware of something and you learn what the benefits can be. You attend and take in all you can as a consumer before you ever try to be a contributor. And that's kind of been my approach on a lot of things, but I think you have to learn where you're getting yourself into before you can say, hey, that's what I want to do.
That's true. And wasn't it last year you had to teach at Idea World and then get on a plane and go to the NSCA event because you were expected to be in both places and they overlapped. So it was you and one other presenter had to like go back and forth. And I was like, wow, that's commitment. They're going to both
Jonathan,
events.
Mike, and I have the same travel schedule most of the time in July. So it's actually, I would say it's beneficial this year that it's in March, but I get home Friday night, turn around and drive up to present at the state clinic here in South Carolina for the NSCA. And
Of course.
that's my plight in life.
Of course, but I love that you're connected with NSCA as well. We work with NSCA to produce content and provide their CECs. And so it's also great to have you as an NSCA expert in-house at IDEA. And I'm so glad that you are on the stage now. And I know our attendees get so much value from your sessions. Let's talk about pain-free, and then we'll talk about your sessions at this year's Idea World. So you're the executive director of programming, and what does this role involve? And what are you? I guess you're producing the programming that instructors are learning from. But tell us more.
Yeah, so programming is more on the actual execution and delivery of the fitness side of things. So Pain-Free Performance started as a secondary education certificate. It was the 2-day course that trainers would come to. We teach them how to go through a warm-up and then how to screen and assess to basically provide the entry points into the different movement patterns. So John came up with this, 10, 15 years ago, as he started out as a doctor of physical therapy and a performance coach, and then was able to have enough value there to go teach this over 2 days for fitness professionals, allied health professionals, chiros, really anyone who is interested in training in, through, and around pain. And so when I came on as just an instructor, one of the master instructors, it was just a 2-day course. Then there was the lifelong performance certification that falls underneath the umbrella. And so this education company has morphed and expanded, I guess I should say, into also providing training direct to consumer. And so the education is direct to coach. The programming piece is direct to consumer. So similar to how I wrote all of the workouts and came up with the philosophy and everything for Vasa, now the role is to take John's philosophy and make sure that we have all the programming, workouts, warm-ups, cool downs, everything that falls in line with that methodology of training, and being able to deliver it in a scalable way. And that's offering, 5 different ongoing training programs to follow. That's going out to Vegas once every other month to film thousands of demo exercises and tutorials for those exercises. And a lot of it, in addition to the programming, has become like running the business. It's, what is our ads and marketing team doing? Do we have the right email sequence? And so all of the skills that I didn't think I needed at my last role, I'm learning now to make sure that we're able to reach as many people as possible in a way that makes premium fitness accessible.
I've been listening to a lot of your social media lately, and I know you're writing and stuff as well. So I'm watching, I keep seeing you. But I love how you're touching on this former elite athletes as a special population. And I think it relates to your work with Pain-Free, because let's face it, a lot of former athletes are dealing with lifelong pain. But maybe you could elaborate a little bit on kind of some of the content that you're putting out now around your own experiences that you draw on and what you're seeing in the people who are working with this, let's say, former athletes as a special population.
Yeah. As much as I thought it was novel and was like, oh, this is it. It actually is a much larger need. And there are people out there who are providing help, whether it's mindset coaching or, structure after the structure is removed. But my take on it is going to a reunion of my teammates and seeing the different shapes, sizes, and abilities, and unfortunately disabilities that have happened now for me almost 15 going on 20 years out of college. And it's like, man, I wish there was something more I could do. So this is part of me giving back to that community, but also what I'm passionate about, because I'm living that experience in the same way that folks have who have gone through body transformation, and that's what they're in turn giving back to others. I was an elite athlete. In my mind, I still think I'm an elite athlete relative for my age. But it's also being able to help people reconnect to fitness, because after doing it for 4 years in college, where you're forced to wake up at 5 a.m. for weights, you're forced to go to practice because that's the agreement that you've made in order to get your scholarship. There's a little bit of a disconnect there with fitness for health compared to fitness for performance. And I want to make sure that I'm able to educate that community that we're not chasing PRs or we're not chasing high performance. I want you to be able to use that physical prowess and that edge that you developed as an athlete to propel your career, your family, your own community, volunteering, anything like that, and use that as an edge, because you know what it's like to work hard. We don't ever forget that. But sometimes you need a little bit more capacity to work at a higher level. And that's the angle I'm taking with it, is like, let's use your body that is used to doing hard things to do, now the more mental, maybe emotional hard things that a life, a career, family can throw at you.
Absolutely. And I've talked often, not this season, but in previous seasons, about how I would look for former athletes to hire, which is why I looked at your resume and was like, duh, she's going to be great. But again and again and again, athletes bring a grit, a determination, a resilience that they learned through all of their dedication to their craft. And not to say other people don't have grit and determination, but I always found athletes also brought that discipline. And they want to win, and they want to compete, and they want to have fun at the same time. So when you put all those together, it's the perfect recipe for a great employee. And in our industry, even better, because it's something that they're generally passionate around. So I applaud the work you're doing. I believe there's a lot of people, even if they didn't compete at the top level like you did, there's a lot of people who grew up in that disciplined environment who can bring that to life into their workplace, and you're giving them skills and tools. Yeah, so good. There was no question there. I just wanted to acknowledge. Okay, so let's transition now. Let's talk about this year's IDEAworld. It's in April, and we are combined with NERSA this year. So this is going to be the coming together of these two audiences. We've got college rec, college intramurals. I know athletic departments are coming alongside our typical IDEA, let's call it commercial fitness environment. But we really span every kind of career in the space. You have 3 sessions at this event. So tell our audience about your sessions and what they can expect to learn.
All right. So I'll start with probably my favorite one. So if anyone follows me, and I haven't done this in a while, so maybe this will spur me to make a post. I like to do performance calorie reviews on my social media. I take a bag of gummy bears. I rate them based on flavor, chew, texture, anything that comes along with it. And it started kind of as a joke of like, oh man, you guys are really fit. I can't eat junk food, kind of poking fun at the industry a little bit. But when I stepped back and started thinking about it, most folks don't know how to actually fuel for a workout. So folks who are trying to lose weight and are in a caloric deficit, things like gummy bears that have a little bit of weight to them, and it's not just pure sugar, are actually good ways to fuel around your workout. So we're going to be diving into that. And again, I'm no expert in nutrition, but I do know what makes you feel good when you work out, and how many times I've had to run back to a PT office to get a Gatorade or a Snickers bar or something, some quick sugar into a client because they didn't eat breakfast or they skipped lunch for an evening session. Like just giving a little bit more practical advice around fueling around your workout, with gummy bears kind of being the center stage. And maybe we'll have some gifts to toss out to the crowd for that one. So I'm really excited about that one. The second one is a pulling based kind of lecture hands-on. So when we think about the different movement patterns, squat, hinge, lunge, push, pull, carry, Pulling is often the one that's most neglected. And a lot of times it's because people immediately think pulling, well, that's a pull up. Well, pulling tends to be important because if we think about it from a biomechanics standpoint, the back line contains all of our postural muscles. And when we train the pull pattern, we're training that back line, the muscles that pull along with it. And the reason that's important is we're fighting a daily battle against gravity to pull us down and forward into this forward flex, internally rotated position at the shoulder. Well, pulling is the offset to that. So we're going to look at some different ways to incorporate pulling into your workouts, one for shoulder health, but also for general posture and a couple other things, so that it becomes more of a mainstay and not something that's forgotten along the way. And then the last one is something, it's a type of periodization that I've been playing around with. I think it's titled something about creating intentional variety. I don't have the title right in front of me, but basically it's this idea of taking periodization and almost like a deck of cards, shifting it and spreading it out. So you're not running the same session week to week. You're changing one variable about it with intention. So it's not random, varied, or chaotic. It is intentional progression towards a goal. And for the general population, traditional periodization models don't necessarily work because they either require a deload due to planning or a deload unplanned for vacations or sickness or anything like that. So this is just a way to keep a continuous thread through the training so that clients don't get bored, but also you're not overwhelmed. And I'll share this piece because I think it's interesting. I have a client who I trained in person for years and is training virtually with me now. And when she blasts me with videos, it is a lot because she will take different angles of the same exercise and send it, for the same session. Whereas with this creating variety now, because I've implemented this with her and some other folks, I get maybe one or two videos, which is much easier to handle. She absorbs the feedback a lot easier, and then it just feeds into the learning phases. So I'm really excited about that one as well. And so they're kind of broad, but like I said, I'm a utility player. I know a lot about a few things here and there, and it's fun to share because it's all based in practice, not in theory. And so
Yeah.
I'm excited to share these.
And I think the audience can tell you're also just an excellent teacher and that you have a passion for the anatomy and for movement and kinesiology. So I know that people who attend your lectures, you always are one of our top rated presenters because of your teaching style. People can take practical takeaways that they know how to put right into their business. So I know our audience is going to love these. And which days, do you know which days you're presenting?
Yeah, 2 on Thursday and 1 on Friday.
2 on Thursday, 1 on Friday. Okay. So this conference, in addition to being on the East Coast in April, which are mind-blowing for Idea World, it's also during the weekdays. So typically we are on the weekends, and this conference starts on Tuesday morning and ends on Friday, which is also different. But we know that, again, coming together with the NERSA audience is going to be so powerful, and to have all these professionals together networking and interacting. And the expo, by the way, is selling out. The exhibitors are ecstatic to see our audiences come together. But Gini, you talked about it earlier about what you love about these events, but is there any other plug or anyone who might be on the fence about coming to Idea World this year? What would you offer to them?
I mean, it's one of those things, once you experience once, it's very hard to describe how impactful events like this can be, whether, and this applies to any in-person event. Like once you get in there once, you're almost hooked because you see your peers, you see your heroes, you see mentors, you see friends. Like it's almost like a big reunion. And whether you're, a studio owner or just a coach in a commercial space, really, whatever part of the industry you're in, there's something for everyone at these events. And I think it's awesome to partner with NERSA this year because now you're getting those younger trainers and instructors and coaches and getting in front of their decision makers. Because right now we're kind of in a coaching shortage, and being able to get those younger folks in front of more people, I think is going to be awesome. But yeah, if when you're there, talk to everybody, even if you don't know them, sit beside somebody new. Try not to hang around with the people you know, because you're going to spend a ton of time with them in your career anyway. Go meet some new folks, um, and get to know some people, because it's the ultimate networking event as well.
That's right. That's right. And you'll be there networking. And the best part also about is just having this FaceTime with presenters that you've admired or listened to or followed. And you're going to be right there to have conversations. So it's going to be so amazing. Okay. We are going to go into a little bit of rapid fire questions here just to get to know Gini a little bit better before we let you go. So here's a few questions I have for you. What is your routine? Morning lift or evening lift?
Morning lift, coffee, emails, workout.
Awesome. And what is a morning routine outside of those that you do? Do you have any meditations? Do you like not check your email? Or what are some things that you would give as a good morning routine advice?
I'm not that dialed into the meditative side of things. I probably should be, but I find that as I'm writing more, that writing comes a lot easier right before. So I get a cup of coffee in me, I can relax, I can help my partner get out the door, and then it's quiet for a little bit. So I get the opportunity to just sit and write for 30 or 45 minutes. A couple days I write, and then a couple days I read and edit. And that has kind of become my morning routine before I head out to the gym and the rest of my day.
Perfect. And that makes you most productive, right? To figure out when you're going to be the sharpest. Okay, next question. Dog or cat?
Dog. We have 2, and I'm surprised they haven't barked during this whole thing. So they're being very good right now.
Very good. And I know your dogs, they're amazing. And next is, what is the most memorable advice you ever got from a mentor or a coach?
Oh, man. This is going to be so funny because it's going to come full circle. So one of the first Vail retreats, I think you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. One of the other PT managers and I we didn't really know anybody. So we knew each other because we had worked on a project together, and we started training together and stuff. And you said, you need to go talk to people, because that is going to be the thing that we'll do. And you're like, the 2 of you together are actually intimidating. So separating might be your best option here. So I was like, okay, I can do that. I think I was mad in the moment, like, what the, don't tell me what to do. But I mean, in the end, you were right, because now I actually don't mind talking to most people. I'm still fairly reserved, and that's kind of always been the thing. But yeah, I think you telling me you need to go talk to people in an environment that was no more than 75 people, and we all work together. But I needed to get out and connect and kind of get out of my own way a little bit. So
I forgot about our Wellbridge retreats in Vail. Oh, what a great memory. But yeah, that sounds like advice I would have given. Like, come on, go talk to some people. You're here on a retreat in the mountains. Go talk.
Well, and coming from the ultimate networker,
Yes.
looking back, I'm like, that I got the advice straight from the source. And it paid off.
I do love to network. But now you just gave that advice to all these people who will be coming to Idea World. It served you very well in your career. So,
That's right.
So good. Gini, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything else you want to leave with our audience? Any words of wisdom, any nuggets, anything we didn't cover today that you think is important?
I don't think so. I mean, I have a really bad habit of saying yes to things, but I think it served me well. So any opportunity you get, if it makes sense from a time standpoint, from a financial standpoint, even if it's a little bit of effort, say yes and take advantage of it, because it's worked out well for me and has gotten me to where I am today, and I'm sure will serve me in the future as well. So thank you, Amy.
Chapter. Thank you. Say yes. Gini, it's been such a gift to visit with you today and to hear your story from Division I and professional athlete to executive programming leader, from navigating identity shifts to mentoring the next generation. Your work represents what true longevity in this industry looks like, and we can't wait to see your next chapter. You don't just train athletes, you help them reimagine themselves. And I personally can't wait to see you at the 2026 NERSA and IDEAworld event coming up in April. You've got to register. You've got to be in the room. Thank you for joining. This podcast is brought to you by IDEA Health and Fitness Association, where fitness is our business.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of the IDEAfit Pro Show. If you did, we'd love for you to follow, share, and give us a 5-star rating. Be sure to explore IDEAfit's vast library of past episodes featuring insights from top experts and thought leaders across a variety of topics. There truly is something for everyone. IDEAfit Pro Show is part of the IDEAfit Podcast Network. A huge thank you to our entire team at IDEA Health and Fitness Association. Copyright 2025, all rights reserved. Reproduction without permission is prohibited.